All right, well, welcome everybody to our webinar on email newsletters, email newsletter nuts and bolts. This is part 3 of a 3-part series, and the focus today is about creating an automated email newsletter that basically emails people basically a list of you can have the latest sermons. You can have it display your latest blog posts. You can have it look at your calendar and put in some upcoming events. Although that can be a little bit more tricky to get that right. But you can do it all in an automated fashion. And so we're gonna talk about that today, and I'll show you exactly one way you can do that. So here's our agenda for today. I'm just going to spend a few minutes talking about the goals and a little bit about our church outreach incubator and group coaching options that we're rolling out in 2025. And then we'll get into our training time focused on email newsletters. So the purpose of these webinars, if you've been here before, you know these hopefully by the back of your hand at this point. But if you're new, we're just seeking to equip you with proven methods of outreach to bring the work of the church before the people of your community. And this is a lot of our customers are OPC churches. We have a lot of PCA churches, a lot of ARP churches as well, but kind of got our start working with OPC churches. And so these just come straight out of the OPC Church Planting Manual. It's the 4 things that are mentioned in the OPC Church Planting Manual: advertising, publishing newsletters, organizing public meetings and gatherings, conferences, and then distributing sermons and teaching. So that's what we're going through in these webinars, is just unpacking how to do each of these different things. So our focus the past 3 weeks has been on publishing newsletters. And if you have missed the first 2 parts of this, the best thing to do is to go ahead and join our church outreach group. It's an online website that looks like there's a part of it that looks like what's on the screen there. And putting a link in the chat. You just go to school.com/church-outreach-group, and it'll take you to a place where you can request to join. And assuming you're one of our customers, which if looking through the list, looks like all of you are, then we'll just immediately approve your request, and you'll have access to the classroom. You can see all these courses, including the email newsletter nuts and bolts, which goes through the things that you may have missed that you may need to know to do what we're talking about today. And I'll just say also, we have a growing number of people in the group. We're up to 26. We work with 150 plus churches, and so this number is growing every week. We're trying to get somebody from every at least one person, if not 2, from every church in this group. This is a big emphasis at 5 More Talents, is helping you do effective outreach in your community. So that's our goal, is to help you cultivate robust church outreach ministries. I'm going to break this down. So cultivate, like a farmer, right? There's different aspects to this. There's tilling the soil, planting, watering, protecting. My wife and I have been expanding our garden the past couple of years, and one of the big things we've had to contend with is deer trying to jump in. So we've had to protect our garden with a big fence. There's pruning that needs to happen, pulling weeds, but cultivate is used very intentionally. There are proven methods, but it does require some work, and not every method is as good as the next one. We're trying to share from our experience, working with hundreds of websites for the past 15 years or so, as a team of 5+ people. All right, so the goal is for the church outreach ministries to be robust. So this, I looked up robust, and it comes from the Latin word robur, which means oak, right? So if your goal is to have a outreach ministry that's like an oak tree, that can stand the test of time, that can endure through various challenges, that's what we're trying to help you do. An oak tree, I learned recently, can last for 400 years, 500 years, 600 years, can produce 1 million acorns in its lifetime, and it can withstand a whole lot of different things. So if you want to, that's what you're trying to do, then that's what we're trying to help you to do and to do ourselves. And then outreach, I have this in quotes because this is the definition from the OPC Church Planting Manual. And I think it's a really good definition. Just bringing the work of the church before the people of the community. You know, what we're finding at 5 More Talents is that, probably many of you have experienced this as well, is that putting up a website is kind of like a prerequisite. But just because you put up a website doesn't mean, for example, that it shows up at the top of the list when people search for church near me, right? So if that's not happening currently, you know, one of the things we've talked about in previous webinars is what you can do, and there are lots of things you can do that can do a better job of bringing the work of your church before the people of your community that are searching for a church near them. And newsletters, what we're talking about today, are another facet of this. Now, this is a photo of Luther's, I think it was Luther Castle. And this is, I think it was Wartburg Castle. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but basically he was imprisoned here. The reason why I'm talking about this is because, you know, one of the things that can happen in church ministry and work is that churches underestimate the value and the importance of the use of media technology. And Luther was able to continue even while he was basically in seclusion and hiding. He wasn't able to stand in the pulpit every Sunday, but he was able to continue his ministry through the use of media technology of the day. So for example, Luther realized that one of the ways that he could spread biblical truths was by publishing pamphlets. Other people of the time, some of them, you know, they were just like, the only thing I would ever want to print would be a big book that is, you know, hundreds of pages. But Luther realized that if he could leverage the printing press by publishing short pamphlets, and so that's what he did. See, he had a great deal of media savvy. So the overall goal of these, if your overall goal is to see that new members are joining the church regularly and visitors are coming weekly or on a regular basis, maybe your church is a mission work and you want to become an organized church, or you know of a church like that. That's what we're trying to do, is to help you implement methods of outreach in particular that can help you with those goals. And one of the things I'll mention is that some of you may be familiar with Lampstand, which is a ministry of Briarwood PCA in Birmingham, Alabama. And so 5 More Talents is going to be one of the exhibitors at Lampstand in January 2025. Lampstand is a wonderful ministry focused on church revitalization, focusing on the spiritual dynamics in particular. But I'm really grateful that they offered us the opportunity at 5 More Talents to put up our table there at Lampstand in January 2025 in Birmingham, because what we're trying to do is complementary to what a church revitalization ministry such as Lampstand is trying to do. I also want to make sure you know about these options of group coaching and our outreach incubator that are new things that we've begun introducing in 2024. And we want to make sure that you all know about these, especially if you're considering your 2025 church budget. We're offering reduced pricing as we're introducing these new services. And best thing to do if you want to learn more about any of these options is to download this PDF link that I'm going to put into the chat. And to book a meeting with Laura, who can tell you more about the details of what's involved in each of these services. But just to summarize, the Church Outreach Incubator is something where Five More Talents team comes alongside your church for a limited period of time, 12 to 15 months. And the first thing we do in phase one is we take 3 months and we build a custom outreach system that incorporates online advertising as well as follow-up using email newsletters and or text messaging. Then during phase two of the incubator, the focus there is on training you and the people of your church to be able to use the custom outreach system. And then phase three is where your church takes ownership of the system so that you then have a much more robust church outreach ministry at the end of that time. All right, and then the group coaching is something that would be a Zoom meeting, and it will be a less expensive option than the incubator. But it'll be something where you can still gather a couple times a month with other church leaders as well as members of the Five More Talents team, and you can help each other. We can all help each other build more robust church outreach ministries. So both of those options are available to you. There's a PDF that I put a link to, and let me put that on the screen. I would just ask that you download a copy of this PDF. I put a link, and just as you're discussing the 2025 budget of your church, just decide which of these 3 options is the best option for your church for 2025. And like I said, Laura is available to answer any questions about what's involved in each of these 3 options. All right, let's get into our topic for today. So newsletters. I really like the way that the OPC Church Planting Manual describes the value of newsletters. It's basically a way of follow-up is how I would summarize it. So people who have already had some contact with the ministry of a church through a newsletter can learn more about it. And so that if and when the Holy Spirit quickens their hearts, they will know how and where to avail themselves of that ministry. All right, so that's what we have been focusing on the past 3 weeks. It's a key follow-up tool. This is where a lot of outreach falters, is that there's just not follow-up. You get the name, the email of somebody, you get somebody's phone number, but they never hear anything from the church ever again. So newsletters can really help with that. And we have been looking at a particular tool, which is a WordPress plugin called MailPoet. As a free bonus for attending the webinar, if any of you do not currently have MailPoet installed on your church website and you would like it, then just contact our support. We'll be happy to install the plugin, and then you'll just be able to go through the recordings of the previous weeks, which will show you how to do the initial setup. Now, what we're talking about today, I mean, there's similar principles, even if you're using some other tool, such as MailChimp is pretty popular, or Constant Contact. But the examples I'm showing today are using MailPoet. All right. So the first thing I'm going to show you, we're just going to have a couple of little warm-ups before we get into the main thing that I think people are here for today, which is using this latest post notification email, which, by the way, you know, if you use most email marketing tools, email blast tools should have something that allows you to interact with your website and kind of see what's new and do some kind of automation like what I'm going to show you in a few minutes. But one place I think this could be really, really helpful is if you had a list of people that have visited your church, and you just wanted to have this automated email go to everybody that is a visitor to the church. I think this could be a really good fit for that scenario. So let me show you how you would create a second subscriber list. It's very simple. All right, so we're just going to go into MailPoet. And go to lists. And I'll click new list. I'm going to call this a visitors list. You can call it whatever you want. All right, so now we have actually 3 different lists. One of them is the visitors list. So then, how do you add people to the list? You don't do it like that. You come over here to subscribers, and you can edit an existing subscriber and add them to the list. You know, when you add a new subscriber, you can just add them that way. And people can belong to more than one list, as you can see. All right, so now we actually have, you know, we have actually 2 different lists. Well, technically 3 lists if we count the WordPress users. We have a visitors list. We have a newsletter mailing list. Maybe we should rename that list to the members list, because that's kind of what I have in mind here. So let's see if we can do that. All right, so as I talked about, I think in the first week, you know, something I would urge churches to consider is to have a list that is for members and then a list that's for visitors. That way, for members, for example, you could share prayer requests and, you know, have a little bit more personal details of people, whereas visitors, you can just set up something that just mainly keeps them updated about sermons that are being posted to the website and upcoming events, maybe blog posts if you do that. All right. So that is the first thing. Now, somebody asked a question last week, because the next thing I'm going to show you, and this is going to come in handy momentarily. How do you find the colors and fonts your website uses? Because when we build this newsletter in a minute, we're going to try to coordinate the colors and fonts as best that we can. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways. So the first way is if you have a website that is based off of our Goodwin or Machen starter sites, this is what you would do. So you want to go to Customize. If you're logged into the website, you just click on Customize. And in fact, that's these first 2 examples I'm going to show you. This is where you start in both cases. You just click on Customize, and then you see here colors and fonts. So for the colors, here it shows you the global palette. So I'm going to click on this red, because that's obviously very prominent, then you're going to see this little thing that says hex or hex code. And I'm just going to paste that in there. You might want to give it a label. What would you call that, like burgundy or something? Let's see what else. Maybe this sort of brown color. You want to grab that as well. All right, you just copy and paste it. Jot it down on a piece of paper if you want. But these are just hex codes. They consist of a mixture of numbers and letters, or they could be just all letters or all numbers, but it's 6 characters long. And so that is how, that's the main way that colors are represented on websites. All right, so now you know the colors for this one, and then typography. Here you can see that the base font is Sorts Mill Gaudi, and the heading font family is Playfair Display. All right, so that's the first example. Second example, if you're using a website that was built with Ames, Baxter, Charnock, Flavel, or Spring, one of those templates, once again, you're going to go to the Customize, and let me go to this other one and X out of it. I don't want to break somebody's website. That'd be bad. So you click on Colors, and again, you can just click on that, and you see here there's that code, so you can just copy and paste that somewhere. And you can see this time it put a little pound sign or hash mark in front of it. And sometimes you'll have to put in that little hash mark depending on the tool that you're using. This one also has kind of a dark red color. Right? So there you go. That's what you're looking for, is those little hex codes. That's where you find them in this particular theme. And then here you can look at fonts, and it will show you what fonts are being used. All right. So those are kind of probably the two easiest ways that will work in most situations. But let me show you what you can do if all else fails. This is a little bit more technical, but it's really not that hard if you know what to look for. So basically, every web browser has developer tools. And you can see I right-clicked on the screen, and it says Inspect. So I'm going to click on Inspect. And depending on what web browser you're using, I'm using Google Chrome in this instance. This might look a little bit different, but they all have something very similar to this. So if you click on this icon, you can see that it actually shows a background color there. It's kind of small there, but it has a little blue square, and it says 1E6 DAD. All right, so I can also click on that and then click on Styles, and I can see that here as well. So I can grab that. I'm going to use this again in a few minutes. All right, I'll grab this other color. So this is a little bit of a lighter blue. Okay, I'm just copying and pasting. All right, so you can use that on any website. Doesn't even have to be your website. If you're ever on a website and like I like that color, then you can use that same tool and find it. Same with typography. You just open up those developer tools and click on Computed is what I recommend, and scroll down, and here you can see the font family. In this case is LATO, Lato, right? So you can do that on any website. If you know where to look, that will always provide you with the information that you need. All right, now we're to the main attraction of the day: how to create an automated latest post notification email newsletter. So let's go into the dashboard. And as you know, we're using the MailPoet plugin. And we're going to click on emails. And I'm going to click on new email. And I'm going to click on latest post notifications. Click on create. All right, so the first thing that it asks, as you can see, is when to send this. When to send this. So probably, I mean, you can see here it gives different options. Once a day, weekly, monthly. You know, I would imagine that for most churches, probably what's going to make sense is to send out something weekly. You pick a day and a time. So I'm going to just say Wednesday at 8 a.m. All right, we've done that. All right, now there's different templates like we saw last time. And you can really use any of these templates. It doesn't have to be one of the post notification templates. Any of these templates will work. So I am going to select, see, I'm going to select this one right here. Oops, I got to click on select. All right, so this template that I chose does not have the automatic latest content widget in it yet. So that's the first thing I need to do is drag that over here. Okay, now if you click on the gear, there's different things that you can select. Posts, pages, media, sermons, venues, events, episode. Depending on what all is installed on your website, you might see a slightly different list. But let's choose this scenario of sermons, for example. All right. So this is displaying the 2 most recent sermons in the system. You can click on display options, and you can see there's actually lots of other options. So we could say you could just change it to display the title only. You could display the full post. We'll just keep it on excerpt for now. You can change the title. Heading 2 would probably be better, I believe. You can change the title alignment. You can change the title position. Okay, so this makes a difference related to the featured image. And then the featured image, there's all kinds of options here. Right? You can do centered, left, right. You can have them alternate automatically so that it's less boring. Do a full width image, or you can keep the padding around them. Right? And you can have it display the author of the post, which probably in most cases you don't want to do because if the person that posts the sermon on the website is different from the pastor, it's going to end up saying like the name of the person that posted the sermon rather than the preacher. Right? And you can see there's other options as well. But then you do that and you're done. So then you want to have some kind of a heading. So we'll just say recent sermons. I'll delete this other stuff. Right? And you probably want to add a maybe what you could do here is add something worship with us every Sunday at 11 a.m. or whenever it is. You could do something like that at the top. Okay. So hopefully this is beginning to give you the idea of what you can do with this automated email. Now, just to follow through with the color thing, so the styles. So here we want to see, in this case, they do have Lato. The selection of custom fonts in MailPoet is limited, but they're going to be, better and worse options. So in this case, we do have the exact same font as being used. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. So this will be consistent with the website. Anytime you can make all the different communications that you're doing visually consistent, it's a great thing to do. And then as far as the color, you might want to use that dark blue. So I'm just going to paste that. So now it's, I don't know what it changed there, but it changed something. Maybe if we change the heading, we could try changing the heading to that dark blue. All right. I don't necessarily like the way that looks. So I'm going to change it back. And then probably the buttons would be a really good thing if we could change that. How do we change the button? We can click on design a button. So here we can change the font to be consistent with the rest of it. We can make it bold. Seems like it's probably a good idea. And then we can change the background so that it's one of the website colors. All right, and change the border to be that same color. All right, so that's looking a lot more consistent with what the website looks like. All right, so I'm going to stop there with the example. There's more things that we can explore with this if y'all are interested, but that's the basic idea. You then have to go to one last step to activate it. So you just confirm your frequency, you indicate the sender and the reply to, you select your list, and then you can activate it, or you can just save it as a draft and come back to finish it later. All right, so I see there's something in the chat. All right. Let's see. So any questions on post notification emails? I mean, any questions on this before I get to the last thing for today, which relates to spam protection? All right, Chris, good question. Why is it important that the newsletters match the website? So it's just something, it's basically like a visual recognition. So when you, I'm sure we've all seen this, whenever you have some sort of organization where it seems like, one piece of paper, the logo is, one logo, and then you get an email from them and it's a different logo, and maybe they have different fonts or different colors. It just seems chaotic. So by keeping the look of your email newsletter consistent with the look of your website, it just, it's a subtle way to convey greater trust and authority of the organization. All right. Okay, last item here. Someone asked last time about spam protection. Great question, because I can tell you from 15 plus years of experience that one of the first thing that happens when you put up a form on your website is people start trying to spam it. So Thankfully, there's a very easy way to configure this. There's a few different ways to do this with MailPoet. So I think you go over here to settings. And there's actually some, is it down here? Okay, here it is. Okay, so there's actually a built-in CAPTCHA. So you don't have to do anything to have a level of spam protection. Basically, what happens is when somebody fills out the subscription form, it'll bring them to a page that looks like this, where it says confirm you're not a robot, and then they have to decipher what are the letters, type them in to subscribe. But you can also set up a Google reCAPTCHA v2 checkbox or invisible. So for that part, let me show you that from the scribe guide. So this, these are basically how we organize our to-dos. I'll share a link to this. This has all the kind of step-by-step step-by-step how-to guides. You can get to the same page using that link that I just posted in the chat, but I'll just walk you through this to show what it looks like. All right, so we already went through these steps. Okay, so once you get to the point where it asks you for your reCAPTCHA keys, you can click the link and it takes you over to a Google website. And then you can click on the plus sign and then just label your website. You can call it whatever you want. And then I would recommend that you do challenge V2. Feel free to experiment with V3, but challenge V2 I know will work. And then you have to put in your domain name and then click submit. And then it'll give you basically some strings of gobbledygook letters and numbers that you have to copy. There's a site key and a secret key. You paste those into the fields, and then you click Save Settings, and then you have that additional layer of spam protection installed on the website. So definitely want to make sure you're aware of that, because there's lots of spammers out there that want to use forms. So there's ways to protect them. That is it for today. So we now are at our official Q&A time. So I'm going to answer questions about email newsletters, local SEO, sermon publishing, anything you want. Any questions? You feel free to unmute yourself. It's like, Ron, maybe you're working on a question. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the automated oh yeah, I need to show one other thing about the automations. Oh, it's not that automations. We got to go to email. And then, okay, here it is. Okay, so again, you got to click on the gear, right? And then you can select which content type you want to display. So you don't have to do sermons. You could select posts, And it'll show you what, their most recent posts. You can select pages. It will list the most recent pages that have been published. You can try events. Events, it's not going to work very well with recurring events. It's what I found, but you can certainly experiment with that. And what you can do is you could set up a you could set up like a featured category of events, so that it just shows the events that belong to the category of featured. So that way you could have it just look at a subset of the events on your website. And Ron, you'd also asked about, will the automation function just resend the last one? Answer is yes. Basically, the way this works is that when the email sends out on its schedule, it just checks what are the most recent sermons that were published, and it just, in this case, it's going to show up to 5. And so if there's no new ones that have been added, it's just going to show this, it's going to list the same 5 as it did last time. So, but the good thing about this, yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Well, you said it would list the last 5, but will it just send the most recent one again?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. All right. So again, if you would like, if you don't have MailPoet installed on your website and you would like it, just contact our support team, and we're happy to install it for you. And then what you could do is go over to the Church Outreach Group classroom and click on the newsletters course, and this will walk you through all the different steps involved in configuring MailPoet. Also, that's what this page on scribehow.com is about. It just walks you through the configuration, adding subscribers, creating other types of email newsletters, and a few other little things you need to do. All right, our next webinar series is going to start in October. So we're going to take a week off, and plan is to start again on the next topic of Facebook advertising, and should be very exciting. I'll just throw this out there again. If there was one person last time that did indicate some interest in potentially having their church serve as a case study we can look at for the webinars. Still need to follow up with them to see where he landed. But if you are your church is interested in basically serving as a case study for the webinars in October, where we could basically set up some Facebook ads for your church, as long as the church is willing to spend say at least $100 on running some ads, then we'll be happy to kind of work with you on that. And then that way we can then use, that's helpful to us. Ordinarily we would charge money to set up and manage those ads for you, but because we're using this as an educational exercise, we could just do that for you for free, as long as the church is willing to pay the ad fees to Facebook. And that way we could come up with some training materials on this topic. So let me know if you're interested in that. Let's talk more about that. So that will run through the, okay, great. Chris, Trinity would be willing. Great. Okay. So, awesome. Let's maybe that was, yeah, great. Awesome. So we'll follow up with that. And then, it might end up being a 4-part. It might just, we'll have to see. I haven't really done like a full breakdown of all the different segments that we're going to do in the Facebook advertising. Could end up being a 4-part series, might be a 3-part series. We'll find out. And then, tentative plan in November is to do a focus on promoting outreach events and making sure that you have a follow-up system in place. So kind of, I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what that ends up turning out to be, because it could tie together a lot of the different things we've been talking about the past few months. Could tie together advertising along with following up via email. And there's also some really neat tools that allow for a text message based follow-up. So, all right, well, that is all I've got for today. Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yep. Bye.
Goodbye.